Good afternoon, listeners, and welcome to this live conversation in Tech Spaces at DHQ Nigeria concerns and misconceptions around these strategies. Why kinetic operations remain critical in neutralizing threats, non-kinetic efforts such as de-radicalization, rehabilitation, and reintegration programs are equally important in achieving lasting peace. However, recent narratives have raised questions about their directive, intent, and impact. Today, we are joined by key stakeholders, including representatives from the presidency and senior officers from the Defense Headquarters, Abuja, Nigeria, to provide clarity, correct the misinformation, and offer informed perspectives on how these approaches work together to strengthen national security. I am your moderator, Sub-Lieutenant Judith Gomes, and I will be moderating this discussion alongside my colleague, Abiodun Dari. Abiodun, good afternoon. Thank you, listener. If you're all there, you're listening to us. This discussion is about to begin. And you can also send in your comments. You can also do well by clicking on the link that were provided for you to also share this so that others can also get the details of what we are doing here this wonderful afternoon. And don't forget that we have the key stakeholders in the building this wonderful afternoon, using them one after the other. From the presidency, we have the Special Advisor Media and Publicity, spokesperson to President Bola Tinubu, the President of Nigeria, Sunday Dari. From the Defense Headquarters, we have the Director of Defense Information, Major General Samaila Uba. From the Defense Headquarters as well, we also have the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja. From the Defense Headquarters, we also have the person and the man in charge of Operation Safe Corridor, on which there are so much concerns concerning that part of what we will be talking about here. We have Brigadier General Yusuf Ali, who is directly in charge of Operation Safe Corridor. I'd like to start by what is actually going on right now on the social media space. And our host, don't forget, is Major General Samaila Uba. He is the Director of Defense Information, and that's the spokesperson from the Defense Headquarters that speaks for the Defense Headquarters. And so he will be starting this event. He is the host of this event, and he'll be starting by actually explaining to Nigerians what is also happening on our social media. If you check your social media very well, if you're very conversant with the social media, you will agree with me that the social media is actually awash with comments and debate about the rehabilitation of ex-combatants. So, what's your take on this?
Thank you very much, Booms. Good evening, fellow Nigerians, distinguished guests, members of the press, and the global digital community joining us today. It is a pleasure to be part of this transparent and vital conversation. As we gather in this virtual space, the primary objective of the Defense Headquarters remains clear: the restoration of absolute peace and security to every corner of our nation. Today's theme: winning the war against terrorism, kinetic and non-kinetic approaches, is timely in the light of national interest in the fight against terrorists. It is a task for every Nigerian and every lover of the nation. To understand our progress, one must understand our methodology. Over the years, the Nigerian military has dedicated itself to carrying out its duty. It has faced this issue of insurgency and terrorism with all the professionalism required. Great milestones have been achieved. The successes of Nigerian armed forces in this endeavor has remained a topic of discussion among nations, knowing the complexity of terrorism that has plagued various parts of the world. However, like the moderator mentioned, there are issues and misconceptions about non-kinetic measures, especially the Operation Safe Corridor. First, I would like to start by clarifying the situation concerning some of these comments being made about the terrorists. The primary task of the Nigerian Armed Forces remains the kinetic measures being employed to ensure eradication of these terrorists. However, guns alone cannot kill terrorists. They cannot kill an ideology. That is why non-kinetic approaches are equally employed in the war against terror. And it is the major reason why today we are going to be discussing the kinetic and non-kinetic measures. The issue being discussed actually arose from a misconception arising from deliberations conducted during the center, using a framing strategy that selectively amplifies certain phrases while ignoring the full context. There was a post alleging that the armed forces of Nigeria are prioritizing leniency for victims. This was actually wrong, and it was not the situation. The context needs to be understood by everybody. Now, those comments were done within the context of doctrinal lecture during the inaugural lecture of the Joint Doctrine and Warfare Center, where various stakeholders gathered to discuss, brainstorm, and examine the various kinetic and non-kinetic measures employed against war against terror. It was there that, like I said, a little part of it without bringing out the context was reported. And then people were thinking the armed forces is all about leniency, and then forgetting the many years the armed forces has done and the many efforts and successes being achieved by the armed forces in the fight against terrorists. And it becomes important to clear this misconception. And that is why the department deemed it fit to host this engagement on Twitter X. And we have the Director of Defense Media Operations to shed light on our kinetic actions and of Operation Safe Corridor. I'm sure at the end of this engagement, Nigerians will be better educated about what Operation Safe Corridor is all about. It is also important to shed some light about the person that some people have wrongly tried to quote in the course of this controversy concerning Operation Safe Corridor. The Chief of Defense Staff is an example of a professional soldier, a consummate person who has made his mark. He has commanded at various levels. He was 27 Task Force Brigade Commander at responsible for kinetic actions against Boko Haram. His exploits there are legendary. He was also a sector commander. He was the Chief of Army Staff before his appointment as the Chief of Defense Staff. It is also important to point that his professionalism, his excellence was recognized internationally. Recently, the President of Sierra Leone invited him and awarded him a prestigious award, the Grand Commander Order of the Roquel, in recognition of his exploits while on peace support operations in Sierra Leone, and in recognition of the contributions of Nigerians to the peace being enjoyed by Sierra Leone today. So it is very important for Nigerians to understand that the leadership of the armed forces of Nigeria remains committed to the kinetic actions being carried out in respect of the counter-terrorism battle that we are engaging. It is also important as a force to mention that the Nigerian military will also key in to the federal government program, the Operation Safe Corridor. It is a national program, and we are part of it. And it is good that Nigerians will have the opportunity to engage, to discuss, to air their own opinions concerning this program. Once again, we expect rich contributions, discussions, and inputs from everybody. Thank you very much for joining us on this space as we look forward to a very rewarding and engaging session. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. That was the Director of Defense Information, Major General Samaila Uba. He is the host, and he has just given you what you need to know concerning what was the problem and why the social media was agog. With that explanation he just gave you, I believe, rests on that particular issue. But moving forward, we need to know what Operation Safe Corridor is, because to talk to the coordinator, but I understand the special advisor on media and publicity, spokesman to President Bola Tinubu, President of Nigeria, is actually online. He has joined this live as well. Remember, he's one of the stakeholders concerning what we are doing here this wonderful afternoon. So I would like to bring him on so that he can also give his own inputs concerning what we are doing here on the X Spaces at DHQ Nigeria. Can we have the spokesman on?
Thank you. Hello, good afternoon.
All right. We're going to.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, welcome, Honorable Sunday Dare, former Minister of Youth and Sports, present spokesperson to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, Special Advisor, Media and Public Communication. Welcome, Honorable Chief Sunday Dare.
Thank you. Good afternoon. For your nation. I'm sure have been different, and because of the concern of our citizens, I think that in a very strategic way, you have embraced a strategic communication platform that helps to change perception and correct misconception. I believe very strongly that this opportunity of interaction will help to dispel many misconceptions and rumors, will put into perspective what is being done, but also will help Nigerians to realize that we have men and women in uniform who are out there on a daily basis fighting the scourge of terrorism. You know, when you sit and you read about it, you watch it on television, it's so distant away. You are not open to the hostilities and the difficulties of the terrain of our men out there. It's very easy, because a bomb blows up today, to reach a conclusion that they're doing nothing. It is when we come to men like you in uniform that we can get the best perspective. We can get the direct, unvarnished information. You can also help Nigerians to appreciate that when you fight an asymmetric war, when you fight people who have adopted guerrilla tactics, it's always, ongoing. It never disappears. It takes time. And are we succeeding? Yes. The counterinsurgencies are on the increase. But I think this platform with these experts who have been in the theaters of war will help to dispel a lot of fears. I listened to General Sumaila earlier, and one thing struck me, and I said, wow, because sometimes messaging is important. And he said something very powerful. He said, guns alone cannot kill ideology. That's a powerful message. And I want to add, bombs alone cannot kill ideology. People say just bomb them, bomb the life out of them. He also says guns alone cannot kill the terrorists. And then you said, Operation Safe Corridor is well and alive. And I think even from your introduction, I know there's a lot we're going to learn. There's a lot Nigerians will learn. And I know that even certain suggestions that will come will be taken, questions that will come will be answered. And I hope that at the end of this interaction, we have a better informed citizenry. We have a better appreciation of the efforts of our men in uniform and also the efforts of the President Commander-in-Chief, who has consistently provided on all fronts whatever support that is needed, and who has come out to say, we will defeat terrorism, we will defeat terrorism, we will defeat terrorism. Thank you and good afternoon.
Thank you very much, sir. That was the Special Advisor on Media and Publicity, spokesperson to President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, President of Nigeria, Honorable Sunday Dare there. He's a co-host of what we're doing here this wonderful afternoon here. Just giving you his own approach on what we are doing here this wonderful afternoon, and also conjoining with what the defense spokesman has also said. And so moving on, we'll be talking about Operation Safe Corridor. I will be asking Brigadier General Yusuf Ali. He is the coordinator of Operation Safe Corridor. Sir, in simple terms, what does Operation Safe Corridor mean?
Thank you very much. I would also want to use this opportunity again to thank Nigerians for their interest in what Operation Safe Corridor is doing. Because Operation Safe Corridor is their own product. It is a Nigerian product. Nigeria must own it. It is one of the easiest paths to the peace that we all look forward to. The Honorable Special Advisor alluded to the situation that exists in this country before, where at the time, strategic buildings and infrastructure in this Abuja was being bombed by terrorists. Since the advent of this administration, we've not witnessed anything like that. This is a result of the progressive work that the kinetic and the non-kinetic efforts have so far produced. Why do we have the relative peace we have now? The big men within these terrorist groups, they don't carry bomb. They are not the one throwing bombs up and down. It is these small boys they have recruited over time, whom they have brainwashed some, we recall that there was a time in this country when population centers like Goza, Bama, Madagali, and others were under these terrorists. So as military operation intensify and they were being cleared from these population centers, they were mopping able-bodied men who were not on their own. They were being mopped and being coerced into the group. So it is more like a form of forced recruitment. So in essence, it now got to a point that this group of Nigerians who, out of no fault of theirs, were conscripted into this group, they begin to reach out to government that they to surrender. They are in the bush. It is not their will to join this group. They want to surrender. And Nigeria being a nation who is a signatory to the Geneva Convention and other humanitarian instruments, as we know, war is not just about what Nigerians are doing. War is a universal endeavor, being governed by extant rules and regulations, international laws. So they reached out that they want to surrender. The question now is that, what do you do with them? So this was how Operation Safe Corridor was conceived in early 2015 and was established 2016. So who are the people that Operation Safe Corridor cater for? You have what the judiciary, which is a member of Operation Safe Corridor, comprising 17 ministry, department, and agency. They have they have their criteria for categorizing people who have been tried under the terrorism law. You have the medium risk and the high risk, as the case may be. What do you determine it? The low risk is that man, an innocent Nigeria, who probably was traveling from Abuja to Maiduguri, and he got abducted along the way and forced into the bush to fight for the terrorists. It wasn't his will. So when kinetic operations are being intensified and they have opportunity to escape, they escape and surrender. When they surrender, what do you do with those people? The government thought it wise to provide a second chance for them through systematic and structured process of de-radicalizing them, first and foremost, to remove their exposures to that violent extremist ideology, and also provide a type of rehabilitation through various skills and vocation for them, so that by the time they are being reintegrated, they can fit into the society. But beyond that, it was also observed that despite the fact that it wasn't their wish to join the group, by virtue of the time they are spent in the bush, some of them, that is their first time of witnessing somebody being killed. So the trauma and other forms of exposure that they have been exposed to are factored into Operation Safe Corridor curriculum to ensure that at the end of the day, they are being provided psychosocial therapy, drug therapy, religious therapy. In short, some of them that say that Western education is a sin based on the wrong ideology that has been fed into them, got to that place, and by the time they are coming out, they know how to read and write. And they now begin to understand the value of education. So this is Operation Safe Corridor in a nutshell, and the Operation Safe Corridor is under the Chief of Defense Staff, who is the chairman of the National Steering Committee, Operation Safe Corridor, comprising heads of 17 ministries, departments, and agencies, such as Ministry of Justice, Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs, Office of the National Security Advisor, Department of State Service, the Nigerian Police, the Defense Intelligence Agency, the Federal Ministry of Women Affairs, National Orientation Agency, Nigerian Correctional Services, National Drug Law Enforcement Agency, National Emergency Management Agency, the Northeast Development Commission, and other ministries, departments, and agencies whose heads joined together to advise the Chief of Defense Staff, and by extension, they have members in the Operation Safe Corridor Advisory Committee who in turn advise the coordinator on areas affecting their various departments and agencies. So in a nutshell, this is what Operation Safe Corridor is.
Thank you very much, sir. That was the coordinator of Operation Safe Corridor, Yusuf Ali. And so, out to the stakeholders who he introduced them to you, and they will be answering your questions as they come. But we have some questions that came in while they were giving their own briefs in the course of the program. So my colleague Abiodun Dare will be taking that.
Okay. Yeah. Good afternoon, guys. So I think Woye wanted to ask a question, and Adan Amber are part of the team members, so I'm going to have to bring them up. Woye, if you're ready, you can come up and ask your question. And I see Uncle Deji also has a question, so we'll just do it one by one. You can request the mic, and Woye, if you're ready, or we can just pass the mic. Just pass the mic. Just pass the mic. Just pass the mic. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Good afternoon. I'm lost.
We can hear you. We can hear you. Just go ahead. Thank you.
Can you hear me?
Warrior, I can hear you loud and clear. Please go on.
Okay. Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon, Warrior. Go on.
I want the general to speak about what is going on in Kwara State, what's going on in and then that the military, from the statement issued by the defense headquarters, they are pursuing kinetic methods more than this non-kinetic thing, because Nigerians are saying return back to the creator. But then the question which I asked Nigerians on my space is, what about if those guys surrendered? Will you kill them or not? So that's my own observation. Thank you very much.
Okay. Thank you very much. Okay, next question is what Nigerians are saying concerning the repentant Boko Haram that are being rehabilitated. And if we out there listening to the coordinator of Operation Safe Corridor very well, he did mention a scenario of someone traveling and being kidnapped and being taken by the terrorists. And so if this person had the opportunity of leaving the terrorist camp or running away from the terrorist camp and coming out and surrendering to the military and explaining his case, what happens to that kind of a person? Bossa, and this is your question. I will allow you to answer that. Thank you.
Thank you very much. You almost answered that question, but as a writer to that, I would also law of armed conflict, international law of armed conflicts. And
Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir.
And as a signatory to the Geneva Convention on Armed Conflicts, once somebody surrenders, it's obligatory that the person is not harmed. And to see how Operation Safe Corridor has succeeded in walking Nigeria out of the tightrope of this international provision, we would recall that there was a time even the arms to prosecute the kinetic line of operation, which Nigerians are insisting should be should be the most encouraged. To buy these arms, to sell these arms to Nigeria, Nigeria was denied these arms due to human rights issues, bordering on how the kinetic operation is being conducted, bordering on respect for the Geneva Convention and international law on armed conflict. So what Operation Safe Corridor has done is to present Nigeria and to show to the entire world that Nigeria is a law-abiding country where no citizen of Nigeria who surrender would be killed or treated against the provision of the Geneva Convention.
Let me just add to that. Based on the proposal that Woye raised, I think he mentioned about the preoccupation of the military to actually be kinetic operations. And I want to make it very clear and distinct that our gallant troops continue to take the fight to the doorsteps of insurgents, neutralizing them and dismantling terror infrastructures with precision and bravery. And that is actually the main preoccupation of the Nigerian military. And this we have been able to do, and on a periodic basis, statistics are given of these successes we achieve of terrorists, of kingpins, their commanders, their logistics suppliers, and their locations that are being destroyed and damaged continuously. And now also, I want to restate that it is our primary duty, and the Operation Safe Corridor, let it also be clear, it is a national program. It is not a program that belongs to the Nigerian Armed Forces alone. It is a national program, and as a law-abiding entity, we just key into the program and continue to do our bit as a professional force, making sure that we continue to find and destroy terrorists anywhere they are in this country. And that we'll continue to do. Again, let it be clear, that safe corridor is a window open only to low-risk individuals, as explained by the coordinator of Operation Safe Corridor. Let us have that at the back of our mind when making discussions and submissions. Thank you very much.
Emphasize this point because sometimes when we look at the emotional aspect of this conversation, we miss the point. The question I always want to ask anybody is that if they found themselves in the shoes of this low risk Nigerians who, not out of the fault of their own, were abducted, taken into the bush, and they found a way to escape. If we are to turn the table around, let's put ourselves in their shoes. What do we want to happen to us? Should it be a case of double jeopardy that after you have been able to, after you were first abducted in the first place, and later on you have opportunity to escape, then the state will kill you again? This is the conversation I think that Nigerians should have, devoid of emotion and other issues. Thank you very much.
Thank you. If you're just joining us, you're still listening to the live stream and the live conversation on X Spaces at DHQ Nigeria, organized by the Defense Headquarters right here in Abuja. And the topic we are deliberating on right now is winning the war against terrorism, kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. We have stakeholders in the building who have been having these conversations with you. And this is the time we get to listen to you, our listener, as well, ask your questions. And we will be taking a question from Blessing Ofedo 28. If you're there and if you can hear us, please. Question. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon.
Go ahead, Blessing. We can hear you. Good afternoon. Yes, I can hear you loud and clear. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. We're hearing you. We're hearing you.
The question is, why are you rehabilitating these terrorists instead of persecuting them?
Is that a question?
Yes.
Is that the only question, Blessing? Okay, thank you very much.
Yes, thank you very much, ma'am. Like we pointed out earlier on, the Nigeria criminal justice system is active and operational. As we are talking, thousands of these terrorists who have been tried and found guilty are in our various prisons scattered across the country. It is those whom the judiciary has classified as low risk, who found themselves as victims of circumstances. The circumstances which I've explained earlier, including people that are forcefully conscripted and people who were abducted. Some, they were even framed wrongfully as terrorists. But when their cases are presented in the courts try them and discover that they were not terrorists actually. So the court has to release them. But if the court releases them, because of their exposure to the terrorist environment, they cannot just be released to go and mix up with the larger society like that. The time they are spent in the bush and the various criminal activities they have observed, they have witnessed, they have to be administered with psychosocial therapies. The wrong ideology that they have been brainwashed to have they have to be de-radicalized. So it is that pathway of providing a place where they can stay and be administered all those psychosocial therapy, drug therapy, and other forms of therapies that enable them to lead Operation Safe Corridor as a better Nigerians who will stay or go back to stay in their communities and contribute to the progress of the society. And so far, all the communities that they have been reintegrated to, there has never been any report of misbehavior or bad behavior on the part of these Nigerians. So this is the situation, ma'am.
Thank you very much. Blessing, are you there? Okay, and hope you've heard the explanation to your question. Do we have someone else online with a question?
All right, so we're gonna call on the next. We're gonna call on the next speaker. Esther Space, are you there? You can have the mic. Question.
Thank you very much. My question is this, right? Like I keep saying, most people in diaspora is what they see on social media they react on, especially if they are not prone or chanced to know what is going on in the country. Again, I will keep asking this question: how do we do this every time for them to know the truth about what is really going on? For example, you said something about the kinetic and non-kinetic. In their own, they believe that you guys, Nigeria, are supporting terrorists, when they do not really understand the difference between the kinetic and non-kinetic, right? But how do you explain to someone that does not even know what those words means? I mean, to the extent whereby people that don't understand it in the way you explain it, how do you explain it to them to know better? And how do you convince them that you are doing your best? Because most of them hardly see this thing. Like I said, the bad news saturate the internet more than anybody. So what is the purpose of the agents of the government or the people that are representing the media to be able to circulate this thing more effectively? Because they've jumped on every news day. They don't know how to, filter what they watch. They believe that anything bad is bad, and that's what they will carry. So how do you change the minds of these people the way you are doing to the terrorists? Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much for your question. Let's have the Defense Media Operations Director answer that question, Major General Michael Onoja.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, thank you, Esther. Your question is very apt, and I'm happy somebody also wanted to know why, or wanted to emphasize that the military should focus on the issue of kinetics rather than non-kinetics. However, warfare has developed to the stage that the military cannot only focus on kinetic operations. Warfare has now become so encompassing, and you can see with America's participation in Iraq, they even went to the extent of nation building. So warfare is not just about kinetics. And what is kinetic operations? Kinetic is any military activity that will lead to degrading of the enemy's capability for us to achieve victory and create a safe and secure environment. The Nigerian military is focused on our kinetic operations, and that is why we have several operations in several parts of the country to ensure that all the threats that are rising from every angle are adequately defeated so that the civilians and other populace can have a secure and safe environment to thrive in the country. On the other hand, non-kinetics is every other activity that borders on soft power, commissioning of schools, interacting with the society, because interacting with the society in order to ensure that the civilian populace feels the impact or feel that they are close to the military. And that is why we need to embark on other aspects of warfare, particularly the non-kinetic measures. We agree with you that there is a need to put out the right narrative out there, and that is why we have decided that we should come today on Twitter. And going forward, we'll make sure that we continue to communicate with the populace so that they will understand that, yes, warfare is just beyond kinetic aspects. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. So you want to add? Okay, you can go ahead, sir.
Thank you again, ma'am.
The reason why our citizens outside the country are relying on the information that they get and basing their judgment upon on them is why, or is partly one of the main reasons we are here today, to have this conversation with Nigerians, to let Nigerians know that as against the information outside there, that Nigeria, that Operation Safe Corridor is showing Babariga and entertaining terrorists and setting them free, that is a wrong, it's a wrong assertion. It's more of a misinformation. That what Operation Safe Corridor is doing is complementing kinetic action of our troops in the field. That as they continue to disseminate, decimate the terrorists outside there who are not even ready to surrender in the first place, the weaker ones amongst them who do not have this ideology embedded in them, who seize that opportunity to escape, are treated fairly and well and reintegrated into the society so that they can contribute their quota to the development of Nigeria by way of a larger peace building effort. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you very much. The coordinator of Operation Safe Corridor, Brigadier General Yusuf Ali. We have other people who are also online, and we also have comments being dropped online as well. We'll be taking the comments, but we want to make sure that we talk to those who are online and willing to communicate with the stakeholders in the building this wonderful evening. So we will be giving them that time to be able to talk to them one-on-one, and we'll fall back to the comments later. So we have someone is online. Building.
All right, so we're going to take a mobilizer, but after mobilizer, we'll take Sasuke. And she has been a critique, but hopefully she gives a good, she asks a reasonable question. So mobilizer, then Sasuke. Thank you.
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you for having me, and it's a pleasure. It's interesting, and also I am happy that Operation Safe Corridor is the Defense Headquarters generally is bringing Operation Safe Corridor to Nigerians for public scrutiny and also to educate the public. I think what the program is lacking is the lack of information which the military is providing to the public. Yeah, I understand that the operation started from a covert operation to a public operation. So it has been a major challenge because you have a lot of misinformation about ex-combatants joining the military ranks or joining the police and all that. There are lots of back and forth on people argue that the what's it called, that the percentage, a lot of ex-combatants go back to their base after they have been rehabilitated. So it is important that the military keeps engaging and the public and also Nigerians to know, for them to actually see that this is how the program is run. And I think having a well balanced and well opened channel of communication is going to have a long way to go in terms of having a widely accepted program, having a widely accepted program so that Nigerians can accept it as a whole. So, because yes, it's still facing Twitter space is not enough. Like I said, like I keep saying, it is not also enough talking about it on Twitter. There are some people which the military needs to bring in on board and also ensure that they carry Nigerians along. Like I'm aware that CSOs are involved in the program, but the media organizations, the social media influencers, and all that, so that it will be easier for people to understand this program and at least give room for one or two interviews for this ex-combatant to say their side of the story and why it is important that this program is being actualized. Because without communicating verbatim on why this program is done and why it is needed to tackle the issue of ideology in terms of terrorism.
Well, thank you, Mobilizer. Thank you. Others are waiting online. We have to give others the opportunity to also communicate. Thank you very much for your observations, for your advice, and I'm sure the defense headquarters will look into that and, of course, work on what you have suggested so far. Thank you so much, Mobilizer. We need to have other people come online to also have a one-on-one with the stakeholders. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So we're going to take Sasuke. Sasuke, the main topic is winning the war against terrorism, kinetic and non-kinetic approach. And like the general said, under the Geneva Convention 1949, Article 3, in specific, wounded, surrendering victims, civilians forced into adoption must be given a fair chance under the Article 3 of the Geneva Convention. Thank you very much. Go ahead, Sasuke.
Thank you very much. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I have just 3 questions, and I would make sure it is very clear for everyone to understand and make it snappy. My first question is in regards to the Operation Safe Corridor. It was mentioned earlier that the reintegration of the terrorists into the community is only reserved for low-risk individuals, like those who have been kidnapped or coerced. So my question is, what is done about the kidnapping situation then? Something has to be done. If we have seen a rise in kidnapping recently, almost everybody knows one person who has been kidnapped. So if this is what is leading to the rise of terrorists, what is being done about the kidnapping situation? Secondly, what about justice? If they were coerced or kidnapped into these terrorist activities, and if they are found to have engaged in terrorist activities that has involved either the death of people or the destruction of communities, how do communities get justice? You know, there are communities who have complained or no reparations. I just read a report on the Operation Safe Corridor, and one of the things that was mentioned is it is hard for communities to accept this terrorists who are being reintegrated because they themselves haven't received any reparations. My third question is about terrorists who are confidently flaunting their activities on social media. I have seen several videos on TikTok, on Twitter. They post the money the ransom people pay for kidnappings and all of that. And I want to know what the defense headquarters is doing about that, because the confidence is alarming for them to be able to come out, show their faces. I think it should be possible that the defense can find them if they're able to have networks to be on social media. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Saskia, for those wonderful questions. We'll be giving the microphone right now to Major General Michael Onoja. He is the Director of Defense Media Operations.
Okay, thank you, Saskia. Your question is very apt. You are right that the issue of kidnapping has become a significant security challenge. We all agree, and we are not. We are spending sleepless nights to ensure that we tackle it and make sure that it is a thing of the past or it doesn't occur again. However, there are some fundamental challenges with our national architecture. For example, because we often tend to be emotional, you know, when there is a kidnapping incident, there are processes that the security agencies need to pass through. We need to find out some information before we commence our tracking operations or recovery operations. However, because the individuals and their family members who are kidnapped are in a hurry, a lot of times they are not able to wait for those processes, and so they go ahead to accede to the demands of the kidnappers. So now we are trying to educate them that no, there is no need for that. I also agree with you that if you don't pay on time, it is likely they are scared that their relations should not lose their lives. But on the part of the security agencies, we are doing our utmost in conjunction with the police and the Department of State Services to ensure that we reduce the issues of kidnapping to the barest minimum. For this quarter, January, February, and March, so far, we have been able to recover about 813 people who were kidnapped. So you see, there's a lot that is being done to reduce the issues of kidnapping. But we also need to work together in synergy with the banks and other security agencies, and also with the family members of those who are kidnapped to reduce it to the barest minimum. But we agree with you totally. There is a concern, but we are getting on top of the situation. Thank you very much.
Now, thank you very much, Saskia. To the justice aspect of it, this has been a major concern everywhere. But it is also in the pursuit of justice that Operation Safe Corridor came into being. Because, like I said, those who were conscripted, who never knew anything about the ideology, and they were just forced into the group, when they find their way and surrender, it is justice to ensure that they also have a reprieve and get forgiveness from, and also get rehabilitated and rejoined with their family. Now, having said that, also recall that I mentioned that the criminal justice system is actively trying, prosecuting, and convicting members that have been found guilty. So the criminal justice system and the transitional justice system, just like as the kinetic operation and non-kinetic operation are working hand in hand, the criminal justice system and the transitional justice system is also working hand in hand. So this little issue that we often face is during the reintegration process, when some aggrieved persons find it difficult to forgive those whom they have known to have committed certain crimes against their family. But again, through the traditional mediation process, we have a way where we talk to the communities, talk to the families involved. In short, before they leave the camp, we have a way of bringing together all the aggrieved persons in the community who will come and sit down and agree that they've forgiven some of these clients. So by the time they are going back to the community, there's that sense of forgiveness within them. But in the main, the most important thing here is that Operation Safe Corridor does not work against the criminal justice system. Rather, it is in pursuit of the pursuit of justice for the hardcore terrorists who have been sentenced accordingly to various terms of imprisonment when they are found guilty, and those when they are not found guilty, they are brought to Operation Safe Corridor for the radicalization, the rehabilitation before reintegration. And in terms of the reparation for the communities, you will recall that the federal government even have victim support program that has been running over time, where a lot of schools have been built and communities have been built. Even in Borno State, the Borno State government is still building schools, building Borno and Yobe State and Adamawa State, they are still building schools, building other infrastructures that have been destroyed. But again, the Chief of Defense Staff is very concerned about this point you've raised, ma'am, and is pursuing what we call victim support program that will be running concurrently with the DDRO program. What the CBS envision here is that much as the low-risk persons are being rehabilitated and reintegrated, some of the victims also will be absorbed into the program, where they are provided with skills and vocations in order to make them function better in their societies, so that we are having a balanced program now, which the Chief of Defense Staff will soon unravel, where both the low-risk persons and some of the victims are being catered for simultaneously through the Operation Safe Corridor process. Thank you.
Thank you very much for that. I just want to add that for all these things outlined about Safe Corridor and even the processes and the rehabilitation, there is need for adequate funding. As it is, the major weight of the funding for this exercise is being borne by the defense headquarters, and it is important for adequate funding to be provided so that the program can achieve its objective. Like I said, it is a national program, and there is a need for national buy-in of this program so that the objectives can be achieved. Again, it can be reviewed periodically, so that if there is a need for any amendment, any adjustment to the program, it can be done. And like I said, the Nigerian Armed Forces is, as an entity, follows all legal institutes and all legal orders of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and will continue to do our best to make sure that we achieve all the objectives that the Armed Forces is set to achieve. Thank you very much.
In addition to what the Director of Defense Information has said, the issue of, like, this conversation we have here, I think this is one of the best things that has ever happened to Operation Safe Corridor, because the national buy-in, like I said, Operation Safe Corridor is a Nigerian product. And as a Nigerian product of Operation Safe Corridor has garnered a lot of commendation far and near, from the Norwegian Center for Conflict Resolution to countries like Colombia, which has been in this type of experience Nigeria is experiencing now for more than 50-something years. They have visited Nigeria, Somalia, Mali, Niger. They have visited Nigeria to see the good work Operation Safe Corridor is doing, and they are exporting Operation. They are importing Operation Safe Corridor to their countries, borrowing lessons that are relevant to their situation. Now to Colombia, we will recall that Colombia was a place where it was so bad that very few people expect that today you can walk the street of Bogota free without incident. But they are where they are today because of the product of the non-kinetic effort through the DDR program. But one thing that is very key in the Colombian experience was the national buy-in, which we are advocating for using this platform. They had the national buy-in where every Colombians agree that enough is enough. They must come together and put all their hands on the deck to ensure that both the kinetic and non-kinetic operation succeed. And what did they do? For their rehabilitation program, you have the private sector driving their rehabilitation program, where most of the FARC members are currently working in various private companies and establishments in Colombia because the citizenry have accepted them as one of their own who have gone wrong in the past and are ready to embrace peace. And they are doing well. They are functioning in their various communities. So once we are able to get this alternative narrative there that Operation Safe Corridor is all about ensuring that peace and security, sustainable peace and security is achieved in Nigeria, then I think the private sector also, like as they did in Colombia, they'll be ready to come in and support the rehabilitation program. That is why we talk of all-nation approach. Every citizen in Nigeria have a role to play here through whether advocacy, forms of support, absorption of the clients into their various companies and others under proper monitoring, where they are contributing their own quota to the development of Nigeria. So this is what we are advocating, and we expect that those of us in this platform will carry the message far and wide that Operation Safe Corridor is one of the best tools that has led to the relative peace we are currently enjoying in Nigeria. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. The Director of Media Operations, sir, would you want to add?
Okay, thank you, Sasuke. Let me just comment on the issue of flaunting their activities on social media, particularly issues of flaunting of funds and things like that. Yes, we quite agree with you, and it has been a source of concern and the defense headquarters and the whole of the armed forces, the boldness and impunity with which some of the enemies or threats boldly show of their activities, even on social media, posting films and other things. I can tell you that it is something that has made us spend sleepless nights in trying to plan and find a way forward. So we are coming together to find a solution to that. And one of the ways we are trying to do that is to ensure that we monitor funds as well as tracking of their phones and technological gadgets in such a way that we can locate them. And one of these, in the course of some of these our activities, it led to the recent apprehension of one Sule Yellow on the 16th of this month. So some of our activities are yielding fruit through the arrest of Sule Yellow, because he has been one of the
protagonists of this flaunting of illicit funds on social media. And then once we notice that they flaunt all these things, what we do is that we intensify our kinetic operations to those areas, including patrols, cordon and searches, to ensure that we get them arrested. So what I can assure you is that we are fully aware of the problem, and we believe at this point that we are making efforts, we are putting in place measures to ensure that anybody who is involved in such will be apprehended as soon as possible. Thank you very much.
To add that, just like explained by the Director of Defense Media Operations, all these people that Sasuke referred to coming to display money on social media are being tracked, and their day with justice will also come. It should interest you to know that it wasn't long after collecting ransom and displaying same on YouTube that Yellow Sule was tracked and captured. All the others doing the same thing are also on our radar, and we will capture all of them. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, sir. I remind the program is still on X Spaces at DHQ Nigeria. And for those of you who are just joining us for the first time or just came into the program halfway, don't forget the topic of what we are discussing here is winning the war against terrorists, kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. And we have stakeholders who are already answering the questions. Before you joined us, I'm talking about those who just joined us and are dropping their comments. And it will be okay for you to actually look at the topic is being posted there for you to know the discussion exactly before dropping your comments. Because most of the questions you will be asking might not relate to what we are discussing right now, and we wouldn't want to take our gets off what we are talking about. But respectfully, we will ask that you focus on the winning the war against terrorism, kinetic and non-kinetic approaches. That is the topic of the day. And for other topics might also come, just the way the defense, Director of Defense Information has promised that this will continue on other topics as well that we will be bringing on board to discuss with Nigerians and the whole world, same way we are doing here this wonderful evening. Having said that, I'd like to appreciate all of you for joining us online this wonderful afternoon, but we'll have to take another call from Emo Truth. Emo Truth, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. Yes, I'm here.
Please go ahead.
Okay, so my question goes as this. In light of what we see in what's going on globally, there's been a terminology that has been used in the past, but now has come back to the limelight, and it's in relation to war. And they asked the question: is this certain country winning the strategic war or the tactical war? That's a question I now have for the brave soldiers and generals that are protecting our nation. Is Nigeria winning the strategic war against terrorism or the tactical war against terrorism? In light of what we see recently with insecurity in Nigeria, people losing their lives, some might argue that we may be winning tactical battles, gun battles, because we are a superior fighting force, probably the best in Africa. But on the strategic level, are we winning? It's been a decade plus, and they keep evolving, they keep spreading. That's my first question. The last question is going to be short, and we're asking again, Nigeria's long-term security seems to be in the securing of the Sahel. If diplomatic measures in securing and making sure the Sahel is safe so that it doesn't trickle down to Nigeria, can Nigeria consider other options that we see other states partaking in order to secure our own citizen? Are we willing to stop being nice with them so that we are safe and our children can go to school and not die? Those are the two questions I have. Please, please. Thank you again for everything you do, sir. We are appreciative, and we know that you mean well. Thank you.
Okay, Emoto, thank you for those questions. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. All right, so for emphasis sake, and for those who are just joining us, we have stakeholders who are already on the program with us. And if you're just joining us, I'd like to reiterate again from the presidency, we'll have the special advisor, media and publicity spokesperson to President Bola Tinubu, the president of Nigeria, Honorable Sunday Dari, is on this program. So for some of you who may want to ask a question directly to him, that will also be allowed. And we'll also have the Director Media Operations in the person of Major General Michael Onoja. He's also here live. You can also ask a question directly to him if you want to mention his name. That's this question goes to you. That will be also carried. And we'll also have the Director Media Information, the spokesperson of the Defense Headquarters. What? The Defense Headquarters. We're talking about Major General Samaila Uba. He is the spokesperson of the Defense Headquarters. So if you want to direct your question to him directly as well, you can also do that. You're permitted. We also have the coordinator Operation Safe Corridor. Brigadier General Yusuf Ali is also live. You can also direct your question to him directly. So I needed to just retrace that so that you know the stakeholders who have on board so that you can also direct your questions accordingly. Thank you very much. So you can proceed.
Okay, thank you, Emopath, Emo Truth. Your two questions are very apt, and they actually speak to the kernel or to the core of our nationhood in terms of security. One, you said, are we winning the strategic or the tactical level? The truth is we need to win at both levels, both at the strategic and at the tactical level. Now, to answer this question, I also need to go into some historical perspective. Yes, you were right when you said this issue has been on for the past 15 to 16 years. However, I am sure that we can see a lot of progress in the current situation compared to where it was a few years ago when the threats were even entering into Abuja and conducting their activity. Outside of their enclaves in the northeast or in the northwest. So on that level, we can say they made considerable progress and we are continuing to take steps to continue to make progress. At the strategic level,
Is anybody there? Because we weren't hearing the answers.
We're here, Elmo. I think the host has an issue. Abe, you did it.
I'm hearing too. Abe, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay.
I think the host may need to refresh the space, so because they are muting their mic and we cannot hear them.
I think so as well, because the answers were very...
Honorable Sunday, I think you're speaking as well.
Yeah, but we need. They were very.
Yeah.
So, have any of the generals on?
Yeah, Honorable Sunday, can you hear us?
I can hear you, but we need to.
Yeah, they can hear us. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead, sir. Honorable Sunday, go ahead, sir.
No. I mean, the one of the generals asking was responding to important. So we need to get what's cut off.
Okay. It said the Major General Onoja was responding, but it got cut off. Okay, so
Abe, they need to refresh their space. They are unmuting their mic. They can hear us, but we can't hear them.
Hello. Okay. Can you hear me now, sir?
Yes, we can hear you, sir. Maybe you want to start from the top again. Thank you very much, sir.
Okay, so Emo Truths, yes. Your question is very apt, as I said, and it's something that we have looked at. The truth is we need to win on both sides. That's both the strategic and the tactical level of the war. On the tactical level, we are doing a lot to conduct operations, and if you can remember, we need to go into the history. Currently, the threats are not able to approach Abuja or come to major urban centers. So significantly, we've confined them to the Lake Chad area and some other areas around the borders. So tactically, we are pressurizing them, and we believe that with a few more operations conducted, where everything will be fine. At the strategic level also, there's also a lot of significant progress. We continue to cooperate with the multinational joint task force to ensure that they remain in the Lake Chad basin so that they will not have access to our major urban centers. And then on the international scene, we also have cooperation from our partners, a lot of them like America, who are now providing us with significant assets to conduct operations. So in a nutshell, basically on both sides, on the strategic and tactical level, we believe we are winning this war against insecurity, and we are going to do so if all these factors come and converge for our own progress. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Again, the Director Defense Information, Emo Truth. Just want to add to what the Director Defense Media Operations said. You talk about let us stop playing nice. And I felt that I needed to clearly mention that we don't play nice. You don't play nice with somebody that is trying to kill you. The truth out there are laying their lives on the line, and those guys are out to kill them. I'm sure you know that nobody plays with somebody that is actually trying to kill you. And like I said earlier, the kinetic aspects of the war are the main preoccupation of the Nigerian military. And like I said, we'll continue to find them wherever they are, and we'll continue to make sure we eradicate them completely. Now, talking about tactical or strategic war, what we are doing is total. Just like the Director of Defense Media Operations said, we need to win on the two fronts. So, and that is why we go after their logistics suppliers, their spiritual leaders, their bases, including in the Tumbus, in the Lake Chad area, and wherever they are. The ground and air components are constantly seeking them out and destroying them. Their sources of recruitment are also being interdicted, and to make sure that we cut the supply of fresh recruits for them. And that is why even among them, what Operation Safe Corridor, one of the cardinal achievements of the corridor is to actually sow discord in their camps, to divide their cohesion, to make sure that we attract those ones that are low risk. And when we say low risk, these are individuals that have not committed any grievous ill. And then again, the classification of these categories is done by the Ministry of Justice. Anybody who has a case to answer will be appropriately classified and he will face the consequences of his action. So when we are doing this, it is a total war that seeks to ensure that we eradicate the terrorists. The only little window, I think we need to know that the window or the ratio of this safe corridor is a very minute one. The window is a very tiny one. The major preoccupation of our troops is the kinetic operations, and we'll continue to sustain the tempo to make sure that we eradicate these terrorists. But that little window, like aptly explained in the course of this discourse, need to be provided in line with international obligations for those in line with Article 3 of the Geneva Conventions that gives the window for those that have not committed any grievous ill to have that window to come back and become normal citizens. But again, it is not automatic, and it is not for medium or high risk category of terrorists. Thank you very much. Component of the strategic and tactical system.
Emotions.
Okay. So thank you very much for your question again. I would also want to add that it is part of a combination of both the kinetic and non-kinetic approach that express the strategic and the tactical seriousness between which this counterterrorism effort is being pursued. You know, at the strategic level, what you are talking is about peace building, which most of the time you do after cessation of hostilities. And this is one thing that's very unique about what Nigeria is doing that is attracting a lot of interest from different parts of the world. Either to what people are used to is a situation whereby DDRO being done after cessation of hostility when the war has ended. But Nigeria, in its own unique way, is conducting the counterinsurgency operation at the same time carrying out a DDRO program, which is very, very unique. So these are all pluses, and like I said the other time, based on this, we've had a lot of countries expressing interest on learning, finding out, paying visits to our various camps, understuding us to see how Nigeria is doing what it is doing so successfully. So it's part of a combination of both the tactical strategic at the kinetic level and tactical strategic at the non-kinetic level. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. We will now take some questions and comments coming from the live there. We told them that we will be coming back to the comment session, and we will be doing that right now. This is coming from Antonio. Antonio, your comments, we will be taking your comments now. Alexander Antonio. He said if he cannot be given opportunity to speak. All right, my dear, because we have a lot of people online, but sending in your comments is well enough. We can read your comments out, and the senior officers will be giving responses to your comments. Thank you. The first one there, he said, what are the efforts made with the terrorism financiers? What are the efforts made with the terrorism financiers? We have not heard any arrest, which makes the citizens wonder and doubt the efforts. I take the question again. What are the efforts made with the terrorism financiers? We have not heard any arrest, which makes the citizens wonder and doubt the efforts. Okay, so I wonder what efforts you're talking about, efforts concerning the terrorist situation in the country or war against insurgency, but they will give you the response. The second question there is what are the efforts made on border security? So we have the first two questions, and we'll be getting the answer for you from the senior officer. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, for that question. Yes, on the issue of terrorism financiers, you recall that some years ago, Dubai made some arrests of Nigerians who were involved in terrorism financing, and they were prosecuted, and necessary action has been taken against them. In the course of that investigation, yes, some issues came to light, but you know, it is imperative because these allegations are so grievous that it is imperative that proper investigations are done. So whoever is alleged to be involved in terrorism financing, a proper investigation needs to be carried out. And I believe that we are still in the process of conducting those investigations in conjunction with the Ministry of Justice as well as the EFCC to determine and clearly come out with who is a terrorism or terrorist financier. It's not a light accusation, and so due process must be followed to arrive at the answer as to who is financing terrorism. However, we are aware of the issue, and all necessary steps have been taken. The federal government has put in place measures including monitoring of bank accounts to ensure that anybody who is involved in such is quickly apprehended. Thank you very much.
The border security, the second question, sir. What are the efforts made on border security?
Thank you very much, Alex, for your questions. And one of the questions has to do with efforts made on border security. Now, the Nigerian Armed Forces has the protection of the territorial integrity of Nigeria. And we have units deliberately deployed in various parts of Nigeria with areas of operational responsibility. We also have the Nigerian Air Force and the Nigerian Navy that are also doing this exact role in the maritime domain and in our airspace. So there are a lot of standard procedures, a lot of things in place for our border security. And continuously, the armed forces is carrying out this duty. We also collaborate with the Nigerian Immigration Service to ensure only properly documented and certified individuals gain access to this country. And efforts are also being done to make sure that all illegal immigrants and people that enter illegally that are arrested by either our troops are handed over to the right agencies. So a lot is being done. A lot of monitoring is being done. A lot of proactive measures are being taken to ensure the sanctity, the security of our borders.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. We have a very interesting question coming from Metaba Bear, and he said, it is also important for the Defense Headquarters to clearly communicate to us in detail the question of the ex-combatants being taken back into the armed forces, meaning they are wearing the Nigerian Armed Forces uniform now and serving as soldiers and military officers. Is this true? What is your take on this?
Thank you very much, Martaba Communications. I will take your question and that of Antonio, but let me start with your own. Please be rest assured that the Nigerian Armed Forces, and by extension, the Nigerian security apparatus, is a structured, there are structured institutions that have extant rules and guidelines for recruitment, eligibility criteria. And one of the this eligibility criteria for every members of security forces is crime record. Anybody with any crime record is automatically disqualified from joining not only the Nigerian military, but any Nigerian security agencies. Having said that, our reintegration process is very, very transparent. It is being done by the various state governments in conjunction with various stakeholders, including traditional rulers, religious leaders, other groups, including security agencies, down to the local government level. And anybody that passes through Operation Safe Corridor is automatically enrolled into the National Identity Management Commission database. So that provides a platform for sustained monitoring of those persons that ensure that constant reporting feedback procedure exists, where we continuously check back on their conduct in the communities. And so far, there has not been any adverse report on their conduct in the communities, stretching from Abia State to Akwa Ibom to Edo State, down to the northeast and the northwest. So this is the situation, Alhaji Martaba. Now to Mr. Antonio, thank you very much. You asked for the jobs that are available for them when they are reintegrated into the society. What we do in Operation Safe Corridor is to provide them with critical skills after discussing with them and knowing the predominant trade that exists in their various communities they are to be reintegrated into. For example, things like farming is made compulsory for all of them. Then you have carpentry, you have barbing, you have bricklaying, you have welding, furniture making, and others. So when they leave the camp, they are given starter packs to enable them start with the trade they have learned in order to enable them contribute to the society. Yes, it is not yet, we've not reached where we want to, where we aspire to be, where they can be productive and employ people and expand their business. But this is one of the concerns that the Chief of Defense Staff has been working day and night to ensure that he solved this problem by ensuring that we have a wider wider space out there, and also wider arrangement where most of them can even be reabsorbed by the private sector, as I alluded to, citing the case of the Colombian experience. So possibly with this positive engagement we are having with Nigerians, and clearing the misinformation about those that have been rehabilitated, some of our private sector also will be keen to absorb these hardworking Nigerians who have learned specific skills that they can use to gain their livelihood. Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you very much, sir. That was the coordinator, Operation Safe Corridor, Brigadier General Yusuf Ali. Thank you very much, at least now. It's been a wonderful time. But right now, we will be taking a contribution from Mayam Mary Morris. Mayam Mary Morris, are you ready? And Mayam Mary Morris will be wrapping this session up. If you're there, let's have you, Mayam.
Hi, good evening.
Mary Morris, yes, go ahead.
Yeah, I'm here. Good evening.
Good evening.
All protocol duly observed. My name is Mary Morris, and thank you for the insightful conversation. And my question is directed to the security expert. And the question is, in the long run, which approach has proven more sustainable in defeating the terrorism? Will you say is the kinetic operations or the non-kinetic strategies? And also, how can government effectively balance both to achieve a lasting security? Thank you. Did you hear my question, sir? Hello? Did you hear my question? Did you hear my question, or I should come again?
Hello?
Yeah, yes, sir. Did you hear my question, or I should come again, please?
Hello, Abe.
Did you hear my question, or I should come again?
Hello, Abe.
So,
Okay, thank you so much, sir.
so I think there's a problem of network from difference. Okay. Maybe we can ask questions directly to the potential spokesperson. She's on the diary here. If you have any question, please kindly ask him so that we can continue with this space.
Okay, should I ask the question again?
Please ask that question again.
All right, sir. My question goes
Niger,
like this: in the
ahead?
long run, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
There's a lady speaking. I think Mary
Okay,
Morris. I think she's
should I ask
asking a
the
question.
question
Hello,
again?
sir. Is that Honorable Senator? I do want to speak, sir.
Should
I
I
think
ask the
can go ahead.
question again?
Auntie Mary, I'm not sure. I think we cannot hear you.
Can you?
Okay, I'll ask your question and then I'll ask mine. So, what's your question?
Okay, my question is: in the long run, which approach has proven more sustainable in defeating terrorism? Would you say is the kinetic operations or the non-kinetic strategies? And also, how can government effectively balance both to achieve a lasting security?
Okay, so please note these are not my questions. I still want to have time to ask my question. So her first question is which method has been most sustainable, the kinetic or the non-kinetic?
Sorry, mix up here. The director defense information in Action that Major General Wangakuba. Please pay attention and listen to your answer very much.
Many more is your question. And what you should know is what is the preferred strategy the Nigerian military between kinetic actions and non-kinetic actions. Like I have said, the major work in the military is to conduct the kinetic action. And that is really given the priority it deserves. It's given the primacy it deserves. And it is the major preoccupation of the Nigerian military. However, like I said, the living window is there for second in particular. When you say non-kinetic actions, it's actually much wider than said corridor alone. But in this discussion, we are focusing on said corridor. So that option is provided, and it has also proved very useful. What we are actually using is a combination of the kinetic and non-kinetic approaches in the fight against terrorism. For emphasis again, I say the major preoccupation of the military is the kinetic actions, as we all know, that is exhibited in the forms of attacks, destruction, and killing of terrorists wherever. In fact, it is because of the pressure on them due to the kinetic actions that some of them feel the need to lay down their arms and say or surrender and then come and start looking for a means to get reintegrated. But of course, it's not automatic, and all the processes will follow, including profiling, so that only those that qualify as low risk will go through the said corridor initiative. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much. As we are about to conclude on the slide today, we will just be asking our stakeholders for their final words.
Trying to make a contribution to the terrorism financing, which the Minister of Justice. Okay. Okay.
Okay, so can we have the final words? Let's start with the advisors, three advisors to the question.
Honorable Senator, final words.
Okay, we're wrapping up now.
La 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 la.